Welcome to our Fraser trip. We start our trip off just outside of Tin Can Bay, where we were getting the cars ready and spending the night. We of course stepped over to the Tin Can Bay Hotel for a few beers, whilst making sure we could still get home. We spent the night and had a bit of a sleep in, as it was our last day to just sort of take it easy, do a few odd jobs and get ready for the trip. The spot we were staying was actually right next to a military base, so we could hear live firing, which was pretty cool. We of course had to check under the cars, make sure everything was all good, and make sure the winch worked just in case. On our drive to Hook Point, we did stop at this campground because it is the spot where, unfortunately, right there, I did write off my last car the last time I was in the area. So, yeah. Good memories. This, for those who don't know, is the landing zone for the manta ray barge going onto Fraser. Obviously, it was our first experience here and we were all pretty excited. You see the girls in the background were super keen. And of course, Leopard was stoked. You excited?
Yeah, mate.
He is our man of many words. Look how close they park you in. Coming up to Fraser Island, the front of the barge does open back up, and in our case, they did drop us off in about a metre of salt water, so that was definitely unexpected. But with that, we were on Fraser Island. We drove up a little, but ended up taking the 11-kilometre inland track, as it was high tide and we couldn't drive through the beach. We then ended up at the Dilly Village exit, where we head through what would be the most overgrown inland track you could get. We also had to pass a little bit of a water crossing, which was a bit of fun, and was deeper than we thought, but not impossible. Here is what it looked like from the cab going through. A little bit daunting, but if you've ever done water crossings before, it was exactly the same, just fresh water. And after that, we continued on straight to our first destination, which was Lake Mackenzie. And with that, Lake Mackenzie, check out just how blue the water is. Absolutely beautiful location, 10 out of 10. We didn't hang around all that long as it was pretty busy and we were stopping there on the way back. However, this was our site at Central Station. Pretty cool little spot and nice to just sit down for a while, have a couple drinks and get ready for the next day. In which we were picking up our mate from further down the beach and going up to Eli Creek. Also, check out this fella I found on the tree. The next day, we stopped in at Central Station, which is super cool and a lot of history there, after which we got straight back on the road, through Eurong and into the beach. What do you think about Fraser?
Mad.
After we'd picked up our mate, it was a bit of driving and then we were at Eli Creek, where there was just a dingo chilling in the sight, but super docile and pretty much just left us alone. But now, into the water. We then passed what's left of the Mahino wrecks and started our campsite search in the Mahino zone for the night. Don't worry, we will be coming back to this boat. There are designated campsites, and so we drove around for a little bit till we found a nice open area. This one right here, which looked good for the three of us. So we set up camp, and what a view it was. I did get the drone out for a shot here, which looks pretty cool. And since we had a bit of time, we climbed up the sand dune. See down there our two mates we picked up, Kyan and Kay. And look how close the Mahino wreck is. The flies. The march flies on Fraser Island are something else.
No flies.
They are just relentless and so annoying. No matter the bug spray works, they will keep coming at you. Our view the next morning was so worth it though, as we woke up with a view straight across the water. But we didn't hang around because of the flies, so we got packed up pretty quickly and head down to the Mahino. We got there bright and early, so there was no one else there, and we managed to get a few clips of our cars, as well as a few photos from right next to the wrecks, which was pretty cool.
Kind of mad though.
We stopped just down the road at the Pinnacles, had a bite to eat, and started onto what would be our biggest day of this journey. Little did we know. We took the Warralai Road track straight across to the western side of the island. Super sick drive and awesome views the whole way. And of course had to have a bit of a jam. Where you wanna go? After that, we did pull up to a little lake along the way which had so many turtles. It was pretty crazy. I've never seen that many in one spot, and it was a super cool sight. Then it was back onto one of the coolest inland tracks I think you'll see in a while. This is pretty sick.
In the middle of Fraser. On a sandy island.
How cool. And with that, we had made it to the western side of the island. Check out just how blue that water is. Now, we were driving up to Withumba, so sit back and enjoy this epic drive. We did stop off temporarily at this little outlook here, just get some clips of the cars and give everyone a bit of a break, but such an awesome spot just to chill. Now, not far from here, we did accidentally go into a red area on the map where we weren't sure we were meant to be there, but we couldn't continue, so unfortunately we did have to turn back. Now, this is coming back from the Awinya Creek track where it was pretty washed out and had a bit of a fun time trying to get some of the unlocked cars up. This is where things started to go wrong. Kyan's BT50 had drowned. It had taken on water during one of the river crossings and we weren't able to get it running properly. This was around mid-afternoon and we just decided our best course of action would be to get it back to the campsite where we could have a proper look at it and see if we can get it going again.
Oh, you don't get much bush recovery from this.
Now, Axel and the 1KD Hilux gave this a bloody good crack, towing the BT50 all the way back through the Warralai track. Now, this was obviously an awful lot for the cars, and the Luxie's clutch was not loving life, but we did get through. Back on the beach, we were having a lot of fun and making our way to the site at Waddy Point where we were camping. Now, it definitely was an unusual experience, very fun to watch, and I think we will remember this one for a long time. It definitely cheered us up after a long day. Our next task was getting through these two little sand crossings, which were a lot boggier than we expected, and we did break one of our snatch straps getting Kyan's car up and through. But we made it to the Waddy Point campground and promptly crashed out for the night. The next morning we had a good look over vehicles. You can see just how filthy they are from going through the tracks we did and making sure we could try and get Kyan's car up and going again. Now, we were lucky enough that we were able to get it started and running under its own power after it cleared out a bunch of white smoke and decided it wanted to come back to life. Unfortunately, Axel's mud flap did not survive the snatch strap incident. Now, this would also be a big day for us, as today we were trying out Nagala Rocks. We grabbed some fuel and head straight there. And there it is, the notorious Nagala Rocks. Now, I did volunteer to go first, and I was very keen to give it a shot and get it out of the way. So, let's see what the old Nav's got, huh? Unfortunately, the BT did bog down, but after a quick max track session, we did get it out with no dramas and were able to continue down the beach.
I really hope we don't get smacked by Max Track. That would have been very unfortunate.
We weren't here for long, and we were pretty thankful as it was bloody hot.
Go.
Now, just a little bit up from Nagala, there was a high tide bypass line, but we wanted to give it a shot, and it ended up being pretty boggy, and we weren't able to get up through it, but it was definitely a lot of fun trying to get through. I did accidentally, on purpose, flick a bunch of sand into the car, which did not make the misso too happy, but it is what it is. We promptly packed down and went straight back up the beach and continued on to our next destination.
The bonus line. That is very gnarly.
On our way to the Sandy Cape, we did stop at this massive sand dune, which was just so cool. Absolutely massive and worth the look up at the top. We can see the lighthouse at the back, only faintly, but also an awesome view around the top of the island. Now, not too far from here, as we were driving up the beach, we did notice something just chilling in the shorelines. They're not dolphins,
Where's the big
they're
fat dude
sharks. Now, there were heaps of them. I'm talking probably about 10 sharks, all only a couple meters from shore. I've never seen sharks that close before and in such numbers. We think they were feeding on the bait ball that was right off, but it was very, very cool sight.
Hey buddy, catch away. Let's go over there.
There's 3, Jiya. There's 4.
Definitely a surreal sight, that's for sure. Now, we weren't able to continue all the way up to Sandy Cape because the beach was closed. However, just before the lighthouse, there is a walking track where we trekked through quite an overgrown path to get to a few sites on the island, but worth it. After this, we ended up coming back all the way back to Nagala Rocks. Beautiful drive in the afternoon. However, it didn't get too many clips and was more focused on getting home as it was getting quite late. When it came to actually crossing Nagala though, we had a bit of fun and a little bit of trouble. Here's Axel going up.
Oh, he made that easy.
He did get stuck though and had to reverse all the way back down as it was just too soft. After he had reversed back down, it was our shot and we gave it a bloody good crack.
Oh yeah, this is where they tipped. Get it, D22. Keep on keeping on. Love taps. She's got it. She's hot. She's warm.
We've done it, mate.
Woo!
I made it, Axel.
Now, this was a big relief as we were the first ones through and we were quite worried about how we would go getting back. But it was all good. We made it and now it was the others' turn again.
On your nav! Woo!
It's hard to see in video, but there were actually a few people just set up here on the corner watching people come through Nagala, and we stopped and chatted to them for a little bit, and they were saying how many cars had gotten stuck. Now, just to get the others through.
1,000 degrees turbo.
Now, I didn't get a video, but Axel did get through Nagala, and it pretty much went like this.
Are you ready, Kyan?
Now, once again, Kyan's car did not make it through Nagala. In fact, we were stuck here for hours. We could not get his car unstuck and actually had to get some help from other people passing through. And we couldn't get his car up either, as it just did not have enough kick. this just shows how soft and boggy the sand really was. Now, absolute props to these two guys for stopping to help us. They were a massive help, and it was pretty cool to see their cars going at it.
Come on, a D22 made it up here.
We did formulate a little bit of a plan, which was to actually drag him all the way back and try the top line. But we first had to get him there, which was proving to be quite the mission by how stuck he was. But we set up a tow strap from behind and ended up getting him free.
Accelerate, Kyan. Yes, keep going. Woo! Nice.
Once we had got him back to the bottom, we did attempt this top high line a good few times because we were pretty much out of options at this stage.
Back off. Keep coming.
Now, at the end of the day, this wasn't Kyan's fault, as the car just simply didn't have enough power to make it up. But with a team effort and a whole lot of digging, we did end up getting him unstuck, and a few more attempts, he did get through. We pulled up in our same spot at the Waddy Point campsite, which honestly just felt so good to sit down and stop for a little bit after our big day. We didn't do much, and pretty much all we did was set up, sit down, have a few beers, and enjoy our night. Thought I'd show you guys a little bit of the setup as well, since I had the car up.
I think it's sriracha sauce. Oh, no, it's tomato sauce. And sriracha sauce. We made it.
What have you done?
It's all good.
Oh no, the sriracha sauce got caught.
What?
Set up.
Once again, a monitor lizard just chilling in a tree. This day was a little bit all over the shop. We had to stop in at the tip on the island, get rid of some rubbish, fill up back at Orchard Beach, and we also head to Champagne Pools. Look how beautiful that is. Now, we did swim here for a good while, and it was absolutely lovely. The water was just beautiful. Before heading up when a bunch of tourists arrived, and then driving to Indian Head, as Kyan wanted a little bit of redemption to get back up this, as last time the snatch trap both snapped and carried him up this hill. Now, I couldn't let him have all the fun and wanted to give it a little bit of a send myself. After this, we went back to Orchard Beach, where we did stop in at the Driftwood Bar to grab a bite to eat. And we were quite lucky we did, as it did actually start raining whilst we were here. But we stayed here for a good while, just chatting and looking at the stuff around. We did stop back at our campsite for a little bit, just to go over the cars. Axel was having a bit of a turbo problem, it was playing up. And my catch can had fallen off. So, sick. After putting my catch can back on, we did head up the beach and go for a little bit of a drive before stopping in at the Shed for dinner. This was definitely a local's favourite spot. Super cool little building, and I recommend checking it out. After dinner, we went back to our Waddy Point campsite and passed out. The next day, we did start to make our way back down the island as we were heading back to our first campsite, which was Central Station. But, of course, we stopped back at Lake Mackenzie one more time. After this, we went back to our campsite, set up, where we were quite lucky to get there when it did, as it did start to absolutely bucket down. We were all pretty tired, and the girls did cook up an absolute mean feed for dinner, but we all passed out pretty shortly. However, in the morning, the rain did not let up. It was bucketing down. Now, those who know that packing up in the wet, it just sucks. This was our last day, and we did do the inland track all the way from Central Station to Eurong, and then the 18-kilometre inland track to the barge landing area. As you can see though, the inland track did pick up water pretty quick, and it made going pretty hard in a few spots, especially for Kyan, who did have a more stock vehicle in our convoy. But with a bit of luck, we did make it to the barge landing area. And with that, our Fraser trip came to a close. We saw the barge off in the distance, boarded it one more time before waving goodbye and heading off home. We did have an absolute blast, and thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys would like to see more content like this, please consider subscribing or hitting that like button. It really helps us out. But I hope you all enjoyed, and with that, here are a few bonus clips I didn't include in the main video.